What is up, you guys? I'm excited because today we're going to talk about the mistakes that people make when they are dining out at restaurants. And I'm taking this straight from our Goddess Body University guide, but it's going to be with the Boss B flavor, okay? Because we're going to get real. We're going to talk about it. Now, one of the most common things that we see, and chime in if you are one of these people, is that Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, you are on track with your eating, you're doing pretty well, you're making good choices, things are flowing. And then Thursday comes and Friday, the next day, we are already starting to get into the weekend mode, right? So maybe Friday starts the beginning of your shit showery, like with your eating, and you go off track, right? This is common. This is normal. This is something that a lot of women struggle with. This is something that we tackle very often in terms of conversations that we're having with our clients, one-on-one conversations with our one-on-one coaching clients, but as a whole, preparing you through the program so you are armed with strategy, right? Now, a lot of the reason why we see that the weekend tends to be where people fall off in terms of their nutrition is because Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, things are pretty structured, right? You have the same schedule. Maybe you have kids, you're in a routine, you go to work at the same time, you have a structure. And we find that a lot of women on the weekends are off, and that throws off their schedule, right? So maybe they're sleeping in a little bit later, maybe kids have games or activities, or there's just a lot going on. So you're maybe buzzing about and you don't have the structure that you have on your work week, right? Like your work week is pretty structured. So when it comes to the weekend, you have to be a little more prepared mentally for what you're doing, understand like what it is you're doing. Do you have some event you're going to? Are you going to have dinner with friends? Are you going to be hosting at your house, right? We would never ask our clients to not be social creatures because that is a part of the human experience. The problem is navigating that and understanding that you don't absolutely have to eat like an asshole every time the weekend comes. The whole thinking of, well, I did really good. I ate my meal prep. I tracked my macros Monday through Friday. I deserve to eat whatever I want on the weekend, or I deserve a free meal or a cheat meal. That is flawed thinking. And that is going to keep you doing the diet cha-cha, like I talk about often, or taking 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, right? This is where we start to see things snag for people. Then what happens is Monday rolls around, the diet starts Monday, you're back on track, you're back on your shit. However, you get on the scale and then you're like frustrated. So maybe you're still carrying a little bit of that frustration because the scale moved, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I just had like a couple restaurant meals, or I just had a couple drinks. How is it that I gained all my weight back and then some? And what I want you to realize is that that doesn't necessarily mean that you have gained a bunch of body fat back, or you put on a bunch of true weight. That is usually because on the weekends, your meal timing is off. The foods that you're eating are typically a little bit different. They're maybe higher in sodium. Maybe you drink less water over the weekend. There are a lot of variables that can skew your weight on Monday, even if you ate like an asshole, right? That's definitely going to screw with a scale for sure. Carbs hold water. I know I talk about this a lot on the podcast. And so you're going to be in your brain thinking that you gained weight, but in fact, carbs are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're holding water, and that is just reflecting on the scale. So when you start to get into your health and fitness journey, one of the things that I'm trying to get women to stop doing before they get into a rhythm with it is to stop treating the weekends like it's a free-for-all, and also not treating the weekdays like it is just lettuce and protein all week, right? There has to be a balance. That's why on a Monday night, I could have a crumble cookie and not be considered going off my diet because I will structure the rest of my week accordingly, right? So it's a little bit of a balance game. But let's circle back. That was super ranty. Let's talk about some of the things, some of the mistakes that people make when they go into the weekend or they are dining out, social settings, okay? The first mistake is that you go starving. That is mistake number one. So if you are going to be at some kind of dinner, you're going to an event, something like that, one of the biggest mistakes is going with a hungry stomach, okay? Now you might be thinking, well, I'm going to eat. Why am I'm going to eat? This is a restaurant I'm going to, or this is a dinner I'm going to. Why am I going to eat before I go? Well, let me tell you, the idea is that when you arrive at the restaurant or the event that you're going to, you are not starving, okay? So some ways to mitigate that so you don't end up overeating, hanging out by the appetizer table too long, just filling up with whatever you can until your meal comes, right? One way is to make sure that before you go, about an hour and a half, 2 hours before, there's no real rocket science to this. You kind of just have to understand what your hunger cues are, but you want to make sure that you have indeed eaten some protein and you have a nice base first level in your stomach to make sure that you aren't going to pile on a bunch of carbs and, sugary things and maybe just overdoing and over consuming. So the first mistake is that people go starving to restaurants. You got to take care of that. Even I have been known many, many times to either have a protein bar if I'm in a rush and I forgot or whatever. I'll eat a protein bar on the way to the restaurant, or I will shake up a protein shake and drink it on the way to the restaurant. I will have some kind of base layer of protein in my stomach to just calm the hungry beast. So when I get to the restaurant, I can then make logical choices, okay? Because none of us are making good choices when we're hangry, okay? You gotta make sure that you're going in to an event or your restaurant eating or whatever already prepared with your base layer of protein. Now, if you're like, why protein? If you've been in the parts of Boss Bitch radio for quite some time, you will know that protein is the macro, which is short for macronutrient, that is less likely to be stored as body fat, okay? And also it is going to keep you satiated much longer, so it's going to give you a little bit more fullness factor, right? Just think about protein, think about a lean piece of steak or a piece of chicken breast just for a visual, and think about consuming, let's say, 200 calories of protein versus 200 calories of pop chips or popcorn or rice cakes, right? The volume is going to be very different. You're going to be satiated longer. You're going to feel better on having a little bit more solid food that is going to last longer, like protein. Okay. So that is number one. Number two is be prepared. A lot of people do not go into their weekend or events prepared. Now, don't let this stress you out. What I mean by prepared is just know where the hell you're going, okay? So are you going to Sizzler? Are you going to a steakhouse? Are you going to sushi? Where is it that you're going for dinner this weekend, right? That's step number one. Then what you do is you look at the menu, okay? Now, this might sound a little bit crazy, but this is how you start to train your brain that when we get to the restaurant, we're going to order this thing that we've already thought about and planned out. And we're not going to be tempted by shiny object syndrome, right? We're not going to be tempted by what everybody else is eating in the restaurant. We're not going to be tempted by what maybe somebody else at the table is ordering, right? You're going to look at the menu. You're going to see what the options are. So when you're there, you don't feel overwhelmed and pressured to make a decision. And you're going to select that right here. And it also helps for accountability purposes if you tell somebody that you're going with that you already know what you're ordering. I already looked at the menu. I'm going to have a filet with a baked potato and a side of steamed veggies. And I think I'm going to have a glass of wine instead of the bread basket, right? or I'm going to have bread and seltzer water or an iced tea because I drank yesterday. And so today I'm just going to lay low on the alcohol, but I really want some bread, right? This isn't about like, oh, I can't eat the bread. Oh, I can't have the chips. It is the Goldilocks spot, right? Where can you find a willingness to make a different choice and also still feel like you're not missing out and have FOMO by enjoying something else about that meal that is going to bring you joy, right? Like I would much rather have like a really great piece of like home if it's a restaurant that makes like unique rustic breads or something like that. I would much rather do that some days than have a glass of alcohol or have a dessert or something like that. So it's really navigating what is most important for you when you dine out so you feel like you're part of the experience, you're enjoying your meal, you're not going without, and also you're not destroying your goals over the weekend, okay? So, some things to keep in mind. You'll find in the guide, it says, avoid the bread basket, the chips, and salsa. This is definitely a trap if you just sit at the dinner table and you are just mowing down, chips and salsa and a margarita and enchiladas with, beans and rice, and this is your meal. You are now pounding back probably over the day's worth of calories, okay? So, with restaurants that are going to serve chips and salsa and sort of those like you sit down and they bring it to you, this is when you need to make the choice. Am I going to sit here and mindlessly eat this, right? I think I saw some meme or something on Instagram that I don't know if this is real. You should probably fact check this, but says that a basket of chips, which I don't know about y'all, but I can most certainly kill a basket of chips with zero problems and still have a full meal. But a basket of chips is the equivalent to 11 corn tortillas. 11 corn tortillas, okay? So we know how easily chips and salsa goes down. Pair that with a delicious marg, and you know what? You have now just completely overdid your calories. So just to go back and piggyback on that, you got to decide what is your nutritional gimme. Like, what is it that I feel like I want to have at this meal, but I'm also going to make decisions with the rest of my meal that are going to serve me better. Rather than bombing the whole meal, find the one thing that you really want to enjoy and then play the rest of your meal around that. I don't track macros anymore. I know I'm pretty well versed on seeing something or seeing a meal or looking at a menu and saying like, okay, I'm going to order this. I'm going to order this. I'm going to order this. I'm going to tell them, whatever instructions I want. Like please don't put all the butters and the sauces on that. Just put that stuff on the side. And then if I want it, I can like dabble my fork in it and then use that to like stab my chicken or whatever. So I'm not dousing stuff. I just need a little bit of flavor. So you got to really structure your decisions around what it is that you want to partake in and what other sort of swap outs can you make to not make the entire meal a shit show, okay? The other mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to dining out is they think, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to have a salad, right? And that is an admirable choice. However, a lot of times what happens is when we look at the salads, if you have a restaurant that actually puts the calorie content on there, it is quite alarming, okay? A salad can run all the way up to 15, 16 plus 100 calories. And just for reference, if you're not super familiar with counting calories, a lot of times an average calorie range for someone who's maybe just trying to get lean and watch their physique and keep low levels of body fat, let's just say is about 1,600-ish calories maybe. We're just throwing a rough number out there. That's not going to be like a super crazy strict diet, and it's definitely not going to be like a plethora of calories, right? It's the Goldilocks spot. Now, if you're allotted 1,600 calories and your salad is 12 or 13, that does not leave you a whole lot of wiggle room for food for the rest of the day. and you're likely piling up a lot of fat and carbs, right? There's probably not going to be as much protein as you're going to want to keep you satiated. So, when you are having a salad, I don't want you to go, everything but the kitchen sink in your salad. And I don't want you to be sad salad Sally, okay, where it's like lettuce and some lemon juice or some salsa. This was how I used to eat when I was in prep, and I'd have to go to a restaurant for like a birthday or a baby shower or something. And I never was the type of person that would drag my food with me to a restaurant. I maybe did that a handful of times in the very, very beginning, but I never wanted to be that person that's like, let me pull out my tilapia and asparagus out of, my bag and eat that while everybody else is eating their dinner. So I would have a salad with like a grilled chicken breast and probably salsa or lemon juice and an iced tea. That was like my go-to. That is sad and depressing, okay? And the smorgasbord salad is also sad and depressing because it is going to load you up with way too many calories. And you're going to be asking your coach, well, I don't know what's going on because I'm just eating salads. And this is where we get detective-y on you. And we're like, okay, but what kind of salad was that? What was on it? So what to do instead? You don't want to be sad salad Sally, and you don't want to be eaten the whole everything but the kitchen sink in your salad. You have to find a middle ground. If you have not found this out already, I love Goldilocks. She's my homegirl because she finds the sweet spot. This is too much. This is too little. This is just right. So what is just right? Just right is picking a couple items that you really enjoy on your salad. So for me, that is something like goat cheese, that is dried cranberries, that is maybe if they have some fancy like homemade croutons, right? I will generally pick one or maybe two of those things. And then the rest of my salad is robust in volume, which means lots of veggies, lots of things that are lower in calorie, with a few of my little fun, yummy treats, and loaded with protein. Oftentimes, I will do double chicken on a salad if I'm feeling a salad that day, and I'll do my goat cheese, maybe some candied walnuts or something, and I'm happy with that, right? But I'm not doing like corn and beans and blue cheese and avocado and bacon and blue cheese crumbles and all of this stuff that then makes a salad not a salad, okay? And then you want to find a dressing. I almost said a dessert. You want to find a dressing that is not going to then also be a shit show of calories and fat and oils and all that stuff. So I will usually do like a low calorie vinaigrette or a balsamic vinegar, something like that, and enjoy my salad and not have either two of those scenarios where it's a sad salad or it is a buffet of everything and anything on my lettuce. Okay. So that is the salad secrets. Know what's on your salad. And the other one I'm going to give you, and this will be the last one for today. There's many more here on this dining out guide. For those of you that are enrolled in the Goddess Body Project, that will be in the portal for you. But the other thing that I love to make known to my clients when they are out eating at restaurants is don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Okay. This is your mouth. Use it. Ask for requests. If they can't do it, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say no. Okay. Being a bodybuilder and being, having children and having to run them around and trying to have a normal life while I was in prep meant that I was going to be doing things that I needed to do as a mom, as, a wife at the time that I was married sometimes during my bodybuilding days. And a lot of times we would end up at restaurants for somebody's birthday or who knows, whatever. But the key is that one, I would usually always order first. This is also some side tips for you, is I would order first. I would make eye contact with the waiter or the wait staff, and I would be like, I know what I want, because I'd already planned before we got to the restaurant what I was eating. And then I would ask them very kindly with the sweetest way that I possibly could, so I'm not that big of a pain in the ass, is I would say, I know you guys don't have like a side chicken breast here or a side baked potato or whatever, but is it possible for me to have a side of chicken breast, a side of some steamed veg, and a side of a baked potato? Just because it doesn't exist on the menu does not mean they can't do it for you. If you are looking at the menu and you see, oh, well, this comes with chicken breast, and I see that this menu or this meal has a baked potato, and I know they have asparagus because it's in this dish, they can oftentimes bring it to you on a side, right? Like restaurants they're there to serve you. And if you ask nicely, most of the time it is not a problem. I have very, very few times when I dine out that it is an issue. Now, go first, get it out of the way, order first, so that way you are not tempted by everyone else's orders and then you want to change your mind, right? You can always have a bite of somebody's something or other and just kind of get it out of your system. But sticking to what it is that your plan is for going at the restaurant is key. And also, like I said at the top of this video, is just making sure that when you go, you aren't feeling incredibly deprived and stressed out about what it is you can order, and enjoy your meal, right? That is the point. That is the point of dining out with friends, dining out with family, is having that, that enjoyment. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus one and then we're going to sign off. But the bonus one that I have for you is one that we see often, and that is alcohol, right? Alcohol is one of the hardest things for a lot of women in the program because they either have like a glass of wine every night to wind down, or, that's what they look forward to on the weekends, is having some cocktails or beverages, of the adult nature, things of that nature. Totally okay. We're always going to tell you that we want this to feel as if you can weave this into a part of your everyday life. We don't want you to go cold turkey hardcore on anything, because when the pendulum swings too far one way, meaning restriction, it is going to swing so far hard the other way to overindulgence and binging. But the problem is that a lot of times we don't think that the middle is good enough, right? We got to be hardcore or it's nothing at all. And let me tell you, from somebody who feels like they have mastered this balance more than ever in my lifetime right now, that the Goldilocks spot, the middle, is the way that you want to go. Yes, it takes more time. Yes, it feels like it's moving at the tortoise's speed versus the hare. But I'm going to tell you, if you stay patient and you go the tortoise route, you will have less incidences of starting programs and then failing programs, and then starting programs and then quitting programs, and all of that nonsense, right? Buying shit and then it not working, and then saying it's not working, and then doing another thing and trying to find the magic answer. There's no magic answer, right? You can go hardcore and get your results and hate life, okay? Because I'm going to tell you that I've done that. It's called bodybuilding, and it is very, very hard and very challenging because it is very strict. Or you can have some balance about it and have some patience about it, right? Knowing that it is going to be a longer route, but it's something that you can sustain and it does not feel grueling, okay? So with alcohol, sorry, that was a huge segue for alcohol. With alcohol, here's my take on alcohol. I genuinely would love to see us not drink alcohol, but who am I kidding? I love myself a lemon drop or an espresso martini. My loose rule is I will generally do 2 drinks per weekend, okay? Not per night, if I'm on track with trying to stay in the zone, okay? Obviously, there are some times when that is a little bit different. There's a celebration, there's a birthday, something like that that is important to me. I might partake a little bit more, but let's be real. There's always an occasion. There's always something to celebrate, which is great. You have to find different ways to enjoy, have a good time that is not just pounding back tons and tons of alcohol. Now, we've had clients before, they're like, well, I'm tracking macros, so I'm just going to put these alcohol drinks in my Fitness Pal, and that is going to be part of my calories for the day, which that is a sneaky technique. However, what I'm going to share with you is that calorie macros are not created equal, and you definitely have to calculate those differently in my Fitness Pal, because alcohol is metabolized way differently in our system than our other macronutrients, and our body is going to prioritize the alcohol over burning fat. So that means when you're drinking alcohol, you're not burning fat. Your body is trying to get rid of the alcohol because it is a toxic foreign substance, okay? Halts your fat loss progress, all of the not so great things that alcohol does, and we also still enjoy it. So the way to balance that out is give yourself a realistic allotment. If you feel like you love to be social and you love to partake, this can be a little bit challenging, but what I suggest you do is if you look back on the last several times that you have had a social weekend, or if you look over the course of your week, how many drinks are you having per week? My suggestion is to cut that in half when you start, okay? Chop it in half. I would love to tell you to go cold turkey. I would love to tell you that. And if you are an all or nothing person, that might have to be the route for you. But I find that rigid of a rule actually ends up backfiring. I know it backfires for me. I've seen it backfire for my clients. So if they know I have a budget this weekend and I'm going to drink 4 drinks because normally I drink 8, okay? You are going to strategically figure out where that is going to land for you in the weekend. What's the most important thing for you to partake in your alcohol? And that is where you're going to plug it into your weekend, right? And then when that day comes, you have to remind yourself like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is when discipline sets in and motivation doesn't do shit here, okay? This is when discipline and you being a person of your word, a person of your commitment sinks in, is in these moments like this, when you are going to possibly have some social pressure, you're going to be tempted, things like that. I'm going to have 2 drinks tonight because tomorrow night I have another event and I want to have 2 drinks at that event. Great. If you usually do double that, then we've made some progress, okay? And your goal is that when you have that alcoholic beverage, you savor it, you sip it, you take your time, you put your glass down between drinks. After you finish that first drink, the drink in between is water, and that is going to help you prevent the hangover the next day. And also, to take that a step further, if you do soda water in between your alcohol drinks, right? Soda water is just the water they've got behind the bar. It's a little bit fizzy. Tell them to throw a lemon or a lime or an orange in there. Sip on that between your alcoholic beverages. It will provide a sense of fullness in your stomach because of the carbonation, and you'll be less likely to 1, overdrink, and 2, overeat or randomly eat things that you probably shouldn't be eating because you're just eating them because they're there, right? So that, you guys, is my quick and dirty, real fast tidbits on restaurant eating, what to do instead of the usual go-tos, and really deploying some discipline when you are out and about this weekend, right? Asking yourself, is this truly going to serve my greater good for the goals I have set in front of me? Is it? Is this something that a fit person would do, right? This is where you always have to ask yourself that question. If you act as if a person who is fit or a person who is doing a program, what would you do? That's your question for the weekend. I hope this was helpful, you guys. And for those of you that are starting the Goddess Body Project on Monday, I'm super stoked. You're going to have all these resources at your fingertips to have when you want to navigate these challenging situations. And of course, you'll have us coaches in the group to help you along. So you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. I love you. And I will see you on the next Rants and Chats.